Hi guys, so Percussions today. This is my new track Chemicals. It's out on iTunes, Spotify and everywhere else. 3 ways to make percussions a little bit more, let's say, fantastic. So first, pick the right sample. Second, do the right processing. And third, we take a look on bass compression, bass saturation, to have it all as a bass. So stay tuned. For more videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell on the right, please. And now we dive right into it. Let's go check it out.
It's possible, you and I, it's chemical. Heart and mind, we can go anywhere.
Guys, you have to pick the right samples. I spend about 3 hours per track to just dive through samples, to loops, and to have the right feeling on the track. So that's very important. If I would say searching for samples and processing, it's about 80% of your time finding the right samples, 20% of your time do the processing and all together. Because if you doesn't have the right sample, you can't EQ, you can't compress, it doesn't get better. So if you want to make your track and your percussions a little bit more fantastic, you have to make this. So what I do is 2 ways. First way, I search for loops. I stack loops 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 below, and then I cut out the most important parts. That's the first way you can do it. The second way, what I've done at Chemicals, let's take a listen. Is to build my own samples. So what I did is, like here, I show it in a separate way, in a separate MIDI file. So if you want to make a clap, just do this. Clap, 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 clap. Or a clap is certainly clap, clap, for example. Okay? And then I copy that, and I copy that. Oh, sorry. And I copy that, and then I shift it a little bit, okay? I shift it a little bit left. I shift it a little bit right, okay? So then 2 samples are not exactly on the time, okay? Not exactly on the time step. This is very important because that can make the transients go faster through, and it makes a little bit more other tone. You have to try it out. So what I do next is I go into my battery or your drum sampler or whatever and go here, and I go here, and I search for the right samples. I search 3 hours, as I said. I search, I shift, I shift, I shift, I shift. This is a hi-hat, but we want to have a clap. Clap, clap, clap. So what sounds good for me? Okay, I shift. And if I have the feeling that this sample is correct and these 3 samples are really well working well together, it can be 2, it can be 3, it can be 4, it can be just 1. All time it's different. Then, yeah, it sounds like this. Let's take a listen, if you don't mind. So, this was the clap. This is the first important step. 80% of your time, search the right sample, 20% of the time, process it. So, processing. You have to do processing on your samples. You don't want to have your percussion sound too digital. You don't want to percussion sound too generic, you know, like a robot. Bam, 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 bam. this always the same hit. No, you just want to have a little bit more variation. So humanize. You want to have bam, 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 bam. You know, musical. It should sound musical. It should sound musical, not too digital, not too generic, and it should fit into the mix. What you have to do is to process it. So what I would do is firstly to have an EQ. This is an EQ on the hi-hat. So I cut the lows out of it and I dip a little bit on the highs. For example, it can be all times different. This is sound design. So you have to listen. You just have to listen. For snares, for example, let's go. For snares, for example, you can dip a little bit on the 8K. Might be sound too harsh 8K, so you can dip it away, for example. You can do a lot. The next step is to have a compressor. You know, forget standard settings on compressors, just use your ears. Just use your ears to make to sound your hi-hat a little bit more fantastic, you know? You have to try out. Short attack, short release. Does it sound good? No. Okay. Then you let the transient through with a longer attack. And the release setting you adjust to taste, it's always different, okay? You really need to listen and then decide, does it sound good? Yes or no? This is compressor. And what I always do is after it, set I don't want to do this, but set tune. Okay, use a saturation. For every percussion, use saturation. I would apply saturation to taste. Maybe you need more highs, you need to make it brighter. Then I would set a little bit more on the highs to make it more crispy. This is really important. You can do it with this plugin, you can do it with a preamp, you can do it with other plugins, doesn't matter. Just make sure that the hi-hats, the snares, the shakers sound a little more crispy, sound a little more fat, make it more interesting with more noise so it doesn't sound too digital. So first we had EQ, compressor, and then a saturation plugin. So this is very important. And after it, you can experiment. Maybe you want to set a little delay on this, try it out. If it sounds good, if it doesn't sound good, you keep it away. Or you can set a reverb plugin with a short decay time, no pre-delay. This is very much up to you. It should sound good. What I found very important is saturation step. Saturation step I found very important. I do it on the snare, for example. On my chemicals track. You have. Maybe we do A and B, okay? Let's do A and B. So first step, I thought this is a nice snare, okay? Then I cut a little bit of the lows and dipped it on 8K so that it becomes a little bit thinner and was better into the mix. It's not important point. Don't listen in separation. Listen together with the whole mix. You can do in separation, but then you have to check with the whole mix. That is very important. So the next one was a compressor. This was certainly to make it a little bit snappier, and now it comes a little bit more brighter on the highs. Can you hear the difference? What I did here is just the middle part, just the mids, not the sides, just the mids. Above 10K, give it a little bit more brightness, because what I think is, if you if you're in a huge club system and you want to certainly have this track played on a huge club system, over 10K, the speakers doesn't translate stereo information that well. That's why I focus on percussion, which should peek through the whole bass and the whole mids and the vocals, which should peek through a club system on the higher frequencies, and especially the transients should be very clear, and for dance music more in the middle. So keep sure that the claps, that the hi-hats, that the shakers are very clear in the mid section, in the high mids, so that it's not spread over the whole stereo system, but be in the middle so that it's clear and punchy. That should be very important, because then in a club system, if I stand a little bit more right or if I stand a little bit more left, I have a clear peek through from the transient. So keep this in mind. Okay, another compressor and another EQ. Okay, where I push a little bit more the highs again. Perfect. So this is the clap, this is the percussion, this was step 2. Processing. Step 1 was find the right samples. Step 2 is processing. Processing just 20% of your time. And step 3 to make your percussions a little bit more fantastic is to have a drum bass over your whole percussions. Have a drum bass over your whole percussions. That gives you power to control your drums again. So what I did is here to have a compressor that glues everything together. Again, make sure that the attack is not too fast. You can put it that fast if it sounds good, no matter. But if the attack is too fast, it can kill some transients. You certainly don't want to have this. So let the transient through and make it a little bit more glued together. First step. Second step, you can have a EQ or a dynamic EQ to have it a more punchier, to have it more dynamic. The percussion should sound not that straight flat, it should have a little bit of a movement. I give it a movement with this tape. I play you the percussion. So what I have here is I push with a dynamic EQ a little bit more the highs to have little bit more of a movement, yeah? You can certainly also do it here. So guys, create movement. You can do it with the EQ, you can do it but also with something else. Let's check it out. So I'm searching for a multiband dynamics here in Ableton and multiband compressor. You can do it here, have it on the drum bus, and then I have it on the highs above, let's say 10, 8, 7, check it out, use your ears, expand it. And what I can also give you as a tip is, if you do all this dynamic multiband enhancing, expanding, and Pro Q, you can check firstly if the signal is even out in terms of volume automation. What I do, I have a limiter, and then I check the volume, so that the instruments, that there is no instruments that or a transient peaks, obviously. So here you have some peaks, that might be the clap. Okay, that's okay. But what I can do is to a little bit lower this transients from the clap, so that they have more room afterwards for mastering, so that the transients doesn't clash into the limiter after it, so it can have a little bit more room for the mastering. Okay, here it is okay, looks good, so it's everything quite evened out. Here there's a transience from the clap, so I would make sure that this is not that high. What you can also do is play the music and go into the next room, go outside of the room, let the door open, and then listen again. That's interesting, but then you hear the track in a different vibe, and then you hear some transients coming through better, as if you're in front of the speaker. So try that, go into another room, let the door open, and then listen again, and then you can hear, oh my god, the hi-hat is a lot too high in volume. I have to go back and make the hi-hat a little bit lower in volume. So that's very cool. All right, guys. So this was a quick wrap up. 3 steps: samples, processing, and bass processing to make your percussions certainly a little bit more fantastic. I hope this helped a lot for you guys. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel, to my YouTube channel, and to my Facebook. You get news updates on my next videos. And please leave me a comment down below if this video was helpful, and also what do you want to see next. Cheers, guys.